Now, welcome. We are starting with ambient noise. Love it. Okay.
There we go.
Who's making all that clapping?
That's me. I'm figuring out my mouse. I'm switching to one that sounds less than when I click it.
Fantastic. Okay, we're live, and welcome to another episode of the Superhero Movie Club, a community of superhero fans gathered to talk about a variety of things, but in essence, superhero movies. All nerds welcome, but please wipe your feet at the door. I'm your comic book cultured host, Michael Maurer, joined by the movie maestro,
James Schuyler Houtsma,
and the scientific scholar,
Ben Anderson. SHMC is your premier movie discussion podcast. Each week we continue our journey exploring our favorite subject, superhero movies. Every fan sees the movies differently, so we gather some amateur experts to discuss certain aspects of the movie.
whether it's money, comic books, music, or science, SHMC talks about it all in this week's episode, The Dark Knight. And yes, there will be spoilers.
Okay, so we are here, back again, returning from our hiatus, our break, our period of trying to figure out and schedules in our lives, and it only got worse, which is wonderful. But we're here to talk about the perfection that is Dark Knight.
It's not perfect.
Well, okay, sure, but
You're not perfect.
opinions.
Excuse me.
Sorry, that was a Courage the Cowardly Dog reference.
I don't care. It was a debasement of my character, and I will not stand for it.
But you're sitting down, so you're not standing for it. Would you stand for it? I'm so confused by that phrase. That's the sound of him standing up. All right. And now
There, I stood for it, and I flipped off the camera.
Okay.
And I kicked my desk when I was sitting back down.
Gorgeous. Okay, so let's talk about first opinions then. Going around the board. I'm going to start this one off actually because Dark Knight is, like, when you look at it, like from a storytelling standpoint, just all the structures, the ambiances, the music, the acting, and the script, and all the things that need to go together to tell a phenomenally impactful story, a story with reverence and real drama and suspense. The Dark Knight really hits a lot of those points right on the head, nails them, and you get stellar performances from the now deceased Heath Ledger, and stellar performances even out of Michael Caine and Aaron Eckhart. What a show that guy put on. And honestly, I love The Dark Knight so much that I have made rules for why I can't watch that movie anymore. One, I can only watch it during for three reasons. One, it's for research. Two, to show it to someone who has never seen it before. And three, if at least 7 years have passed, or whatever the amount of years of Batman's retirement. Oh, while it may not be my favorite superhero movie, I have to say, in my opinion, I think it is the best made superhero movie. Best made movie of all time? Contestable. Not a given, that's for sure. But you could put it in top 20, and I don't think too many people would shout at you nowadays. So
I don't know, it's the internet, so...
Yeah. So go ahead, Skylar.
Dark Knight is, without a doubt, still my greatest cinema experience, just going to a theater, watching a movie, getting just blown away. Best movie I've ever seen? Contestable. It switches around depending on what's going on. Best superhero movie I've ever seen? Pretty assuredly. But that's also calling it a superhero movie, which I kind of pause at, just because not only is it that, it's just a great crime drama thriller, and just a great movie in general. All the like you said, all the parts of it just come together for an experience that's impactful and thrilling and exciting and truly, truly memorable.
If you're done talking, please pass the torch.
Yeah, you gotta indicate to me when it's my time to talk.
All right.
I thought 5 seconds of silence and just blankly staring at the camera would do it.
Yo,
But
that's just discourteous to Michael, because now he has to edit that out, and he has to edit all this out, because who wants to listen to me like complain about things?
Talk about process. All right, so go ahead, Ben. What did you think of Dark Knight?
I think this has happened a lot on this show, where my opinion of the movie is much cooler than yours.
Oh, how dreadful!
Like,
oh,
that was a good one. You should be proud of that one. No, I thought this was a fabulous movie, very well made, a lot of great performances. But is it the greatest movie ever made? Not by a long shot. Is it my favorite movie, or is it in the list of my favorite movies? That's an interesting question, because that couldn't be like that nobody asked, but I'm going to explain my answer to it anyway. Because like the list of movies that I think are great, and the list of movies that I could watch over and over and over again, are very different lists. Like greatest movies of all time is like. Okay, these are bad examples because I can also watch these over and over, like Pulp Fiction, Big Lebowski,
Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, Shawshank Redemption was great. Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
You have all these Oscar movies, and then out of nowhere comes Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah, that's a fabulous film, man. Then like the list of movies I can watch over and over again, what was that? Anyway, there's someone. Is that a dog or a giant cat?
That is a dog in the background.
Okay,
Hi, Dexter.
That confused me for a second. But the list of movies I could watch over and over again and never get sick of are like The Italian Job, Ocean's 11, about a third of the X-Men movies.
Oh, I was gonna say, please name another heist movie.
Grandma's Boy.
Okay, but what about Dark
Knight? The Dark Knight is on neither of these lists.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So why for you?
Why not? There are just like a bunch of sequences and some like plot issues that just make me go, huh? Okay. And they like take me out of it.
Give me one specific example.
A specific example, the big like car chase when Joker comes out of the semi-truck and shoots people with bazookas. I found it very visually confusing, and I couldn't keep track of where the cars were in relation to each other, which is kind of important during a chase scene.
Okay.
And like that scene in particular just takes me out of the movie.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
So why don't we move on to what the majority of people thought about this movie, or what the majority of people spent on this movie with its money. So, Skylar, give me some money stats for The Dark Knight.
Oh boy, this is going to be a sizable entry to the world of superhero money, in that it's one of the biggest movies of all time, but we'll get to that. Dark Knight made on a production budget of $185 million, so, not chump change, not super amazing blockbuster money, but right there midline, Spend on practical effects, actors, all that stuff. What it brought in, considerably more. $534.9 million in the U.S., coupled with $469.7 million everywhere else, for a grand total of $1.005 billion.
Hold up, pause real quick, guys. I need to check something to make sure that we are recording. Okay, I'm just gonna give me half a minute to look something up. Think amongst yourselves.
So according to the UN, The Dark Knight Rises that movie is a bigger economy than the British Virgin Islands.
Huh.
Yeah.
I could believe it.
Yeah.
I just
There's probably more film stock that goes towards making that movie than could cover the.
The worldwide box office gross was like the same size as the GDP of the British Virgin Islands.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are gonna take a risk and just say it's doing it as soon as I press I'm done, because it doesn't tell me. It won't tell me until I'm done, which was like the same thing as Skype. But I trust this system more than I do MP3 Skype already, because I did run a couple tests and I think we should be fine. All right, and please don't hate me if I'm wrong. Just be okay with it. And okay, so where were we? So the production budget was about $185 million, right?
Correct.
So that's it's run of the mill. It's a little bit. Do you know how much like Batman Begins was made for?
I can find out here.
No, don't bother then. I'm gonna edit all this out. Because the way I think of it is like, what is the average Batman of mean budget? Like, Batman is one of the biggest characters in American, myth making, and like, how much money do you put down on this to tell a fantastic story? And right now, this is $185 million. And that certainly sounds like enough, especially since it brought in so much.
Right. The production budget on Batman Begins was $150, so that's like the baseline for a blockbuster. And then for Dark Knight Rises, it was considerably more, due in no small part to how much money this movie brought in. But 185 is bumping it up a good amount just to hopefully get more returns in it. And
it's the GDP of the Marshall Islands.
Oh wow!
And that little uptick they had in their budget, they definitely brought back in exponential amounts, shall we say?
So, oh
wow! To add some fun facts on this, it was the biggest comic book movie ever for 4 years until Avengers came out. It's still one of the highest-grossing films ever. I think it's the 21st highest-grossing film of all time, not adjusted for inflation.
Of course.
And other films like it, I think the only other superhero films ahead of it are Dark Knight Rises, Iron Man 3, and the 2 Avengers films.
Yeah, well, yeah, wait. Yeah, okay.
And all of those came out after this film, so... And I think all of them had 3D, with the exception of Rises.
Okay, yeah, because this one was filmed with just IMAX cameras, right?
Yep.
Not just IMAX cameras. They use IMAX cameras in a few scenes.
Oh, yes, I know. Sorry, that was misleading information.
Right. But it was accurate in the sense that IMAX contributed a big amount to why this movie made so much money. Also had a biggest opening weekend for quite a while at $155 million.
Oh, wow, yeah. So this was like the first superhero movie to break $1 billion.
Yeah, I believe so. It was back in 2008. It was one of like 4 movies to break $1 billion at all. I think it was just Titanic and Return of the King at that point.
Damn.
Since then.
Yeah, nowadays it's like billions. Like, if you don't, it's not a hit unless it's $1 billion.
Exactly. So it was a big deal back then, but a trendsetter, if you will.
Okay, so let's talk about the comic book section then. Unless there's more, was there more money stuff? I think we covered it all.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
All right, then. So let's go right on to the comic book section, or the source book section, depending on how you want to phrase them. Because The Dark Knight, where it all starts is the title, The Dark Knight. And that title was first applied to Batman in Batman #1, which was written by Bill Finger and drawn by Bob Kane. And in Batman #1...
Switch them.
What?
You said written by Bill Finger and drawn by Bob Kane. Isn't it the other way around? Bob Kane wrote it.
No, Bill Finger was the writer.
Oh.
Yeah, because he coined the name Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fuck me.
So what would... And there's a lot of controversy behind this, because Bill Finger is sometimes credited as a co-creator for Batman. Right now, when you watch the Batman movies, it all says Batman created by Bob Kane. And Bill Finger was there on the first comic book, Detective Comics number 27, and his family has received, or his heirs have received, no money for that, whereas comic book characters back then were made for work for hire. So the company, and they kind of still are today, honestly, and where the company owns the comic book characters, and the creators don't see any of... They have the note of saying that they created the character, but they are entitled to no monetary value. So this was a big issue when people like Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster wanted to get money for Superman, and that was a long, hard-fought battle in the legal system that was only recently won in recent years. And so currently, Bill Finger is still in a battle in which the studio does not acknowledge, and the Time Warner does not acknowledge, that Bill Finger was a creator. So whether you believe he should be or not, I mean, I think personally we do here. It's interesting to take note, because he doesn't get a title credit, even though he created the title, The Dark Knight, technically, for Batman. He is not credited as being a creator of Batman in any way, or a contributor to the Dark Knight film. So
he also doesn't get any royalties, which...
Yeah.
Nobody
gets royalties.
Which I was going to say, kind of okay in his case since he's dead, but all his relatives and whatnot.
It goes to their heirs. Like the Schuster and Siegel family still get Superman money, because of that very long legal case they went through. And all these golden age writers and artists are most have all passed away. So you have just families fighting for legacies, really. But moving on more to about The Dark Knight, the movie specifically, you have a story that was written by David Goyer, which is sort of it was an amalgamation of Batman storylines such as The Long Halloween, The Killing Joke, and Joker's debut comic in Batman #1. And way back when, when Batman #1 came out in the 1940s, there was very little censorship on comics. So the Joker was, cartoony in look and such. He was very brutal. He murdered a lot of people, and with a big smile on his face. Heck, back then, Batman killed people. This was before his moral code was really rigidly instituted. The characters were very different before the 50s, where people started saying, whoa, your comic book stories are poisoning our children's minds. You need to be restricted. And so that's when the era of the Super Friends came out and such. So while it may be slightly based, while the story may be slightly based on these stories, it is very much David Goyer's tale, and co-written with Christopher Nolan too. So we're going to move on to characters that have premiered in this movie as a favorite section of this. So first off, there's Mayor Anthony Garcia, who had a very small role in the film, and and also he's never been in a comic book before. But I like to think of him as Mayor Hamilton Hill from the Batman animated series, because he's very similar in a way.
Just 20 years younger and 3 jars more of mascara.
Yes, Nestor Carbonell has very deep, dark eyes. And did the mayor died totally in the movie, right? He got no, he was attempted.
No, he was attempted. He died in the next movie, but
oh yeah, that was very uneventful. It just blew him up in a stadium.
Yep.
But what's also interesting is the actor Nestor Carbonell played Bat-Manuel in the live-action Tick series of the 90s, which if you haven't seen, there's only 9 episodes. Treat yourself. It's fantastic. Fantastic.
Oh.
Gotcha, guys. I'm on fire tonight. Woo! Yeah. All right. Next character is Commissioner Gillian B. Loeb, made in 1987 by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli, which I would like to point out. Mazzucchelli has not 1, not 2, but 3 double consonants in his name. That is a phenomenal name, I gotta say.
True Italian.
True.
Where's the Italian?
So, Commissioner Loeb premiered in the Year One storyline, and he is a corrupt police commissioner. When Gordon came into town as the new hot cop off the block, that sounds weird saying all those words in succession.
Hot cops, light up the town. Arrested Development. Yeah, okay.
Gordon really wanted to clean up the town, and Loeb's like, no. You clean it up, I make less money. So I'm going to do everything in my power to push you down. So that was like the big plot of Year One, of course, along with Batman starting out as a vigilante. And it wasn't until Year One concluded and Loeb got fired for his corrupt findings being found out, and he was replaced by Commissioner Jack Grogan, who was just as corrupt, and then quickly, of course, replaced by the one and only James Gordon, who was the ever-loving giant mustache commissioner we love today. And in the movie, he was he wasn't that corrupt really. He was just sort of
jaded. He was jaded.
He was jaded. He was naive. He didn't treat threats very seriously because it's Gotham.
Just apathetic more than anything, it seems like.
He was just like, it's part of the job. Have a glass of scotch.
Life ending.
Because that can never come back to bite you.
Yeah. All right. So and then next.
Did we ever figure out if Commissioner Loeb is named after the writer of The Long Halloween?
No, I would.
That when I was reading The Long Halloween, I was like, okay, this was written by this Loeb guy, and then I read Year One, and I was like, is Frank Miller giving a wink to this other Batman writer, or is it just a coincidence?
No, that's Jeff Loeb, and Jeff Loeb is very involved in Marvel Television nowadays. But
at the time.
Yeah, well, The Long Halloween came after Year One.
Right, but Loeb could have been writing before then.
Yeah, I guess, but Loeb wasn't really on the scene, so I think it's just a coincidence.
Just an interesting coincidence. Okay, darn.
Yeah, because Long Halloween is treated as a spiritual Batman Year Two.
Yeah.
In that it involves a lot of those Year One characters right afterwards. So the next character I have is the character of Lau in the movie, and he is very loosely based on the Batman villain Calculator. And I just like to bring this up because I want to talk about how a transformation the Calculator has gone through as a villain. He was made in 1976 by Bob Rozakis and Mike Grell. And what's so great about this character is when he premiered, it was because the pocket calculator had just come out and was a popular new invention. So he was a villain that had a pocket calculator strapped to his chest, and he would press buttons, and a little contraption on his head would shoot out holograms. Fantastic.
Now I can do that with my. I can actually do that with my smartphone.
So like, and now the calculator is this like evil oracle, like this guy who's just this broker behind the scenes. He has all the connections, all the information. You know,
he's good with calculations.
Yes, he is. And you know how Barbara Gordon has become Oracle, and she does that for the superheroes. Well, now again she's Batgirl, but Calculator does the same thing, but for the villains. And I like to just bring that up because I mean, honestly, like they Lau in one line says, "I like to calculate," and
he said, "I'm good with calculations."
Yeah, that's the only reason people are like, "Oh, is he the calculator?" Is that because the calculator's his alter ego is Noah Cutter, not.
He's about the most minor villain there possibly is.
Oh, we need way more minor.
Okay, you're right.
Because if there's one thing we need, it's absolute adherence to dated minor villain.
Well, you don't want to put a pocket strap a nice little thing to his chest and have him shoot stuff out of the top of his head.
Yo, they're gonna debut a villain that's just named Wolfram.
That'd be pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah.
Well, there was Wolfram and Hart of the Angel TV series, but I digress.
There you go.
And next character is Sal Maroni, played by Eric Roberts in the movie. He was created in 1942 by Bill Finger and Bob Kane, and his giant claim to fame is that he was the mobster on trial being prosecuted by Harvey Dent, and he was the one that threw acid in his face, which of course scarred him and turned him into the Two-Face character villain that we all know today. What's so great about that comic book scene is that in the book, in the story, Batman was there as Batman testifying against Sal Maroni with physical evidence, which I want you to imagine a man dressed as a bat just sitting in a courtroom waiting for his turn to talk.
Your Honor, I motion that this man's evidence be suspect.
Well, it's just in a mask. I mean, come on. Also, you don't have to imagine it because there is an actual scene in the movie Batman Forever. Oh, is someone playing music?
No, there was a car outside my...
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
There's an actual...
I have a loud parking lot. Sorry, you go.
All right. There's an actual scene in Batman Forever where they recreate this comic book scene, and you know someone throws acid on Tommy Lee Jones' Harvey Dent's face, and Val Kilmer Batman leaps out of the jury box in full Batman regalia and tries to stop what has just happened, and it looks so stupid. It makes me giggle every time, even when I think about it. Because just imagine like Batman just leaping out of over a courtroom bench.
And that is a movie full of giggles. So
it was a very comical thing, and it's just one of those things of like you can't translate the comic book perfectly into a movie. You have
Watchmen.
To. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Okay. So what Sal Maroni later became is, well, what happened to Sal Maroni directly after the acid spraying is Two-Face eventually hunted him down and killed him for revenge, and he became Two-Face's first victim. And that was it for a long time, until he got retconned into more stories about Batman's early career. So like the Year One and the Long Halloween story, Sal Maroni shows up for a bit longer.
You okay, buddy?
Is that a movie playing?
My roommates are watching a movie.
Oh, okay.
I alluded to this earlier. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that was really loud.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's toward the end where they're having, like, a loud action scene.
Okay. Well, it built up. I hadn't heard it at all, and then suddenly, awesome.
Yeah. No, there's not much I can do. Because I don't want to be a dick. Like,
all right. All right. And finally, the last character I have that I want to talk about is Two-Face. And And Two-Face had premiered in Detective Comics number 66 by Bill Finger and Bob Kane. And even though Two-Face has shown up as Harvey Dent in the Tim Burton Batman movies and the Two-Face in the Tommy Lee Jones, the Joel Schumacher films, this is the first time we really get a sense of both sides of Dent, the character, of both his transformation into this duality of man. So originally he was called Harvey Kent in the premiere book, but they changed that name because they figured listeners might get readers would get him mixed up with Clark Kent, Superman, or just like think that they're related when they're not at all. And originally he was a gimmicky villain, like a lot of the early Detective Comics were, in that he was just going to be a guy that did crimes in twos, shoot people in the head twice, rob the Second National Bank, all that jazz. Sorry, I'm just waiting for some sound to die down when I do that. And so he went away after that storyline for like 30 years. He didn't show up again until the writer Denny O'Neil brought him back in 1971 and really fleshed out the character. And we get a lot of stories that deal with Two-Face as, his duality of man, as the personification of fate, and just the anguished relationship with Batman as the man he couldn't save, who could have been the savior of Gotham.
I think the animated series from '92 really drove that home as well, in reiterating that this can be a tragic character and not just a gimmick.
Yeah. So
there's also some good symbolic resonance. There's also some good symbolic resonance between Harvey Dent, Two-Face, the split personality, and the two sides of Bruce Wayne's life as Bruce Wayne, also Batman.
Yeah. Totally true. So that's all I got to say on comic book characters. So I'm going to transition it over to Sky Guy with the music.
Oh, modulating into music time. Okay. Soundtrack for The Dark Knight, written by Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard, the two composers who did Batman Begins, returning once again. Something to note about the overall music for the movie, a lot of themes return for the second Batman movie here that were used in the first one. It's a good thing in that it creates a continuity between both movies. Not so good a thing in that a lot of the stuff you heard before, you hear it again. So there's a side to both coin, if you will, on that one. Thanks. But putting aside the return stuff for a minute, let's get into the new stuff, which is, by and large, the sound of the Joker. Mostly written by Hans Zimmer, who went on to say that he wanted to create something that audiences could truly hate in the sound of the Joker. And I don't know if I would go that far, but I will say what he came up with is very close to, musically, to what Heath Ledger was doing with the character. So let's get a taste of that with the track Why So Serious? So yes, I would say that's not something you're going to find in a typical blockbuster soundtrack these days, or even those days.
Well, I mean, wasn't it that's the same track that has the Joker note or the Joker 2 notes of just like the building that's played throughout the film at several different points?
Yeah, that's what opens the track and technically the soundtrack too. Yeah, like you said, 2 notes. Starts on a D, slides up for what seems like an enormous amount of time up to a C, and that tension between those notes on that, I think it's an electric cello,
Yep.
is really what kind of you tie that to the character just because of its presence throughout the soundtrack, and it's really creepy and effective.
Every time you hear that sound, that like you know the Joker's gonna show up and do something badass and scary.
It's really terrifying. Like it's so amazing how effective just that sound was in just creating tension in the film.
Yeah, Zimmer made a iPod supposedly of 10 hours of just crazy batshit sounds to send to yeah, thank you. To send to Christopher Nolan, and a lot of what you hear in the movie is what was utilized. And apparently, much of that is based on the work of the German electronica group Kraftwerk.
Oh, fun.
That's a pretty abstract little detail you might notice or not notice, but you know, and knowing is half the battle.
So, what's next on the list?
Next on the list, we're getting back to that traditional Batman music with the track Buyer Beware in the second scene, I want to say, of the film, in the car parking lot, which serves the purpose of reminding us that, yes, this is indeed a Batman movie, and you will hear some Batman sounds. Take it away. It's interesting to kind of juxtapose the sound of this Batman, which is really moody, rhythmic, not terribly focused on melody, but more in the sound quality of it, with the sound of the Tim Burton Batmans by music written by Danny Elfman that was really more based in melody, and the fact that they're both kind of iconic now in their own different ways.
Oh yeah, like that sound, the zoom dum dum dum, like when it just like centers in and just starts playing. Man, Hans Zimmer loves those drums. But like that has become the new Batman sound. Like you could play that to probably like 100 people, and I bet 75 or maybe I'd go as high as 85 would just go, hey, is that the Batman sound? I thought that sounded familiar.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the years since these movies have come out, and pretty much during, so many other composers have taken up kind of that sound, utilized it, found inspiration from it. So that's very cool. And yet, at the same time, when I said that this theme doesn't focus too much on melody, interestingly enough, there is a track on this soundtrack called Like a Dog Chasing Cars that does have a Batman theme that written for the movie that you'll hear every now and then, but not in its full form like on this track, that does kind of sound a lot more like something a traditional hero theme Batman by Zimmer would sound like. The track itself was supposed to go along with the car chase in the middle of the movie, but I guess Christopher Nolan went with the decision at the end to go without music.
Okay.
And I think the decision speaks for itself in the movie, but had there been music at that part, this is something that it would sound like.
Real quick before I start playing this,
Yeah.
Ben, is there any like before your quality was not good, but now it's too good, in that like I don't know if during these parts if do you have a switch on your mic or like somewhere to just like turn the volume down because I'm picking up a lot of your roommate's conversation.
Okay. There's a little switch. I think it cuts the gain.
Okay. 'Cause yeah, I'm still listening to your roommates talking. I guess your apartment
Okay.
must have thin walls.
They're paper thin. It's awful.
Yeah. So like the whole time Skylar was talking, there's just this garble underneath.
Oh.
And there's
Well, when
right
I
now,
talk, it's just garble anyway. But
while we're talking right now, I can hear them. So it's fine when you're talking, Ben, is what
Okay.
I'm saying, because then you
Okay.
just overpower that sound
Sure.
easily.
Yeah.
But when other people are talking and your mic is just on, it picks it up.
I can I can mute like
Well,
when we're playing.
you can go up to the top here and just press mute microphone, and then you just joggle that when you want to start talking, which would just be perfect. Thank you. I see that you're muted.
Yeah, I will do that then. That makes sense.
All right, thank you. I'm going to start playing this now.
it, it's an odd occurrence with that track, I think, because I think it's one of the best parts of the film, but it's not in the film. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the most easy to listen to tracks that doesn't actually appear in the movie.
It's pretty majestic set, but whatever
I,
directors say.
I do think that the decision to not have music during that chase scene was the right one though.
Mm.
I can't like picture this fitting in well with that scene. If that's indeed what this was written for.
It, like I said, I think the decision spoke for itself, and it did kind of lead to this anti-blockbuster moment almost, where like you're expecting the music to swell and do all that stuff, and it didn't. And I think it brought you in more than music in that part would have. Now, we've been talking a lot about Hans Zimmer so far in this segment because, come on, why wouldn't we? But it is worth noting that there is another composer on the docket, and we should talk about him as well. James Newton Howard was tasked with writing a lot of the material for Harvey Dent, Two-Face, and not a whole lot of that is new or noteworthy, so I didn't pick out anything terribly prominent, but there is a very dramatic track near the end of the soundtrack end movie, Watch the World Burn, where we have our final little confrontation between Batman, Gordon, and Two-Face. And a lot of what Newton Howard does with the music is tension based on harmonies, progressions, uh, more kind of how those fit in more than natural sound quality. So let's take a look, or shall I say, listen at that one. And of course, to wrap this segment up, I would be remiss without including it's probably the most iconic part of the movie, at least music-wise, next to the Joker's stuff, and that is the very end with the speech with Gordon, where a decision has to be made about the future of Batman, I guess you could say. Easily one of the most dramatic parts of the movie. I think the part that nails it as far as just sending it home, the whole thing, and that is A Watchful Guardian. You aren't able to see it, dear listeners, but during these tracks we're having beautiful musical seizures on camera. So
this track you need to like just listen to on its own, because it is a wonderful piece of orchestra. Whether or not you like orchestral music, it's great, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's so involving to listen to, and paired with the movie itself, it's one of the more perfect instances of sight and sound combined in this film.
Yeah, when this song starts playing and you have the whole Gordon speech about, you know, what Batman is to Gotham and what they need, and they have to chase him because they have to, and all those wonderful words, and you just swell up. You like your emotions just start to swell. And some people, I know, me a couple times, just moved a little bit to tears, because it's a perfect end to a story. And a lot of movies, like, they may have this wonderful beginning or middle, but the ending seems to be the trickiest. And this one just nails it so well.
Absolutely agree. I mean, the ending is the part where so many movies fall apart, but this did it, and the soundtrack to it helped in no small part.
All right.
I'm going to be the sole dissenting opinion. The ending wasn't that good. I didn't get it. Batman's lame.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
So thank you, Ben, for coming in, and let's just move on to your section then. How why not? And let's talk about science of the Dark Knight.
Let's talk about science, baby. Let's talk about you and me.
Hey, what is the man, you know what would be a great joke? You know, let's talk about science, baby. Let's talk about you and me. And by you and me, I mean uranium and manganese, or I don't know, whatever those are on the periodic table.
Uranium, and I don't think there is one.
Oh, there's no Me? Lame.
I don't think so. Millennium, maybe, if that exists. Hold on.
That joke would be fantastic. It's taken too much time to explain. So, I'll give you 5 seconds to continue your search.
Me is Mendelevium, named for the chemist Mendel. No, botanist.
Geneticist? I guess he was technically a botanist because he worked on peas.
Whatever. All right. Science of the Dark.
You can work on my pea.
Okay.
Ew, gross.
Science of the Dark Knight. Yeah. What do you want to?
Oh, Dmitry Mendeleev.
Yes.
Was a Russian chemist. He invented the periodic table.
Yes, he did.
That's right. Okay.
And
Mendel was a botanist.
Yes, he did. Yes, he was.
Crossbred peas.
So let's talk about science, baby. Let's talk about.
Oh, we just did.
I'm repeating the joke with
uranium and mendelevium.
Oh, for fuck's sake! There needs to be your goddamn setup! Oh! Alright, screw it all. Starting over. Alright, Ben. Let's go right to your section here. Let's talk about of The Dark Knight. Yeah, let's talk about let's talk science.
Yep. Oh, hey, I'm wearing my Batman shirt for today. I just realized that.
All our listeners love to know that stuff.
Yeah, especially since they'll be listening. Anyway, so no, this movie actually was pretty grounded. It's not like Thor or the Avengers or whatever, where I have to okay, well, here's how quantum mechanics works. Here's what a wormhole is. It was all pretty grounded. It was very realistic in a lot of ways.
Outside of I don't know when it wasn't really too off the ball.
It was a very grounded movie. I'm just gonna if I have your permission to just nitpick a few things. This is gonna be pretty short and nitpicky.
This is what you got to do. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the phones.
You want to start with the phones? Okay.
So the phone basically Morgan Freeman handed Bruce Wayne a thing, and he's like, here, it's sonar. It sends out a ping, and then it records the response time, and then uses that to map the environment like a bat. Hey, I just got that now. Okay. like a submarine. Okay.
Submarine.
So yeah.
All right, that joke took way too long to hit me. But anyway, the thing is though that it has to be at ultrasonic frequency, otherwise people are going to be like, why is my phone suddenly beeping for no reason?
Making that radar blip.
Right, so you want it to be an ultrasonic frequency so that people don't be like, wow, my phone is annoying, and I'm going to take it to the store, and they'll figure out that someone illegally installed software to make it into a sonar device. So it's an ultrasonic ping, but the problem is cell phone speakers don't produce ultrasonic frequencies because we can't hear them, so why would they pay extra money to have a speaker that can produce those tones?
Can you get an app that produces ultrasonic frequencies?
I mean, it's the physical limitations of the speaker itself.
Oh.
If you're building a cell phone, you want to do it cheaply. You're not gonna design a speaker that produces sounds humans can't even hear.
Makes sense. Okay.
The tech just isn't in there, or
it's who's going to build hardware for sounds that people can't hear if you're building a cell phone?
Right.
Right.
I'm sure you could get a flamethrower app for your phone, but as long as there's not an actual flamethrower in the phone, it doesn't do anything.
Right. You can get those lighter apps. Those are pretty cool. By which I mean completely lame. And I alluded to this earlier, but how to distribute software onto all these onto all these phones throughout the whole city without anyone being like, who's installing stuff on all the phones in the city illegally?
Oh yeah.
Like the software development for that is crazy.
So what Bruce Wayne does is physically actually impossible when he creates that giant set of just constant sonar power that is just pinging everything with every device is pinging everything.
Yeah. Bare minimum he has to make an Android and an iPhone version. And porting from the Android to iPhone it takes time. It took Fallout Shelter 2 or 3 months to go from iPhone to Android, and people were mad. They're like, I want to play this Fallout game on my Android.
So hold on. So what he did, it is possible. Like, you could make a bunch of phones that do that, right?
I mean, yeah, if you could get it to make a ping, it'd have to be a hearable ping because that's the only kind of things that the cell phone speakers produce. But yeah, you could do it.
Well, how he did it?
How would he do it?
Because he's Batman.
Wonderful.
Because the plot demanded it.
Yeah.
And also, the bigger problem with this, frankly, is that he is getting sonar imagery from areas where there are no phones.
It's true. Unless all those army guys had phones, or those hostages.
You don't carry your cell phone if you're on a SWAT team. You don't take it into a building with you.
Well,
what What if it goes off and tips off the dude that you're already there? Well, you're like, oh, well.
We'll just have it on silent, man.
Well, what if you accidentally have like a timer or an alarm because you were baking chicken and then got called out?
Yes,
I'm sure that happens.
And then you're like, oh no, I forgot to turn the oven off. Also, this guy's shooting at us now. It's no good. It's no good. So
that's fun though. But I mean, like, of course, we definitely wanted that phone scene. But I like how interesting it is, the fact that like, we wouldn't be able to. It's so weird. You have to look so deeply into this because he's seeing things that are created by the physicality of sound.
I mean, it's like in Daredevil. We were talking about how like you make a sound and record the response time, and you can map your environment. He's just using a cell phone to do it.
That's pretty awesome.
And then like in the end, when he has like 1 million cell phones mapping the whole city, like the world's biggest supercomputer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You need something to.
You need a pretty good GPU to have it like make this 3D image of the city that updates in real time according to cell phone sonar.
Yeah, the amount of information he is simply processing at like light speed is insane. Yeah. But you know what? We can just assume he has the money to afford that much processing power in a suit. Maybe. Probably not.
It's
Your grunt of disapproval is noted, and it is denied because it's a sick-ass Batman movie.
It's cool to see Batman do Batman-y things.
Hell yeah.
Speaking of doing Batman-y things, in one of the cooler scenes in the movie is he goes to where these two cops got shot by the Joker, and he starts drilling into the wall and removing this brick, and Gordon's like, that is a cinder block, and the bullet will have shattered, and you can't get ballistics off of it. And Batman's like, no, I'm getting fingerprints.
Which, of course, is a Batman thing to say.
Yeah, and he goes through and he like reconstructs the bullet and figure out how it broke apart inside the cinder block, and then he, stitched it back together, and there's this fingerprint right there. Good luck with that in real life, because fingerprints are super fragile.
Okay.
Which is why they're hard to recover, and like you can like do a murder, and
could you give the example you gave last time?
Oh yeah. If you're listening at home right now on your computer, just reach out with your thumb, touch your screen like that, and then like smear it even a little bit, and you'll be like, oh, there's not even a partial print there. And if you're shooting a thing through a gun into concrete, it's gonna, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that will rub off onto, and so you're not gonna get a print at all.
Yeah. So that print you just made. Now make another one, all right? And now take a piece of cinder block and see if it'll wipe away.
Yeah. Just like take your phone, put a fingerprint on it, rub against a concrete wall, and be like, "Oh wow, I'm dumb because I'm taking advice from this dude on a podcast." And also like the point at which fingerprints evaporate, because it's skin oil, so it evaporates at a temperature slightly higher than your average body temperature. Otherwise, it would be useless, because that's how we cool down when we sweat. And when you fire a gun, the temperatures in there get hotter than that, so it's going to vaporize anyway.
Boom. Well, not to mention bullet casings.
Oh yeah. The bullet is inside the casing. The fingerprint's going to be on the casing, not on the bullet. Yeah, you might get a partial print, but then it's not what we see in the movie. So,
so Batman's a genius, and with guns maybe work differently in the Nolan verse, as does sonar.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Small bits of stretching.
Yeah, but I mean, it's that scene's great because we get to see Batman doing Batman-y things, which a lot of Batman media, especially the games, I think we talked about this in the Arkham Game City. Like, we don't see Batman being a detective. He's just going around beating people up.
Oh, please!
So,
I think the games do a lot of detective work.
Yeah, I was like,
well,
what
I guess
games are you playing?
I've only played Arkham Asylum, but like there you like press a button and it leads like it's like, oh, follow the colored lights to the next objective, and that's
Well, it's faux detective, same as it is faux fighting. Like you're not, it's being not complex to make it a more enjoyable experience, I'd say. But
But it
no,
does
you're-
get more complex for the next 2 games, as
Yeah.
much,
Okay.
without having to go to police academy or whatnot.
But what I mean is, well, you're absolutely right. In the world of, in a lot of the movies, have certainly sort of slacked off in his detective work because he's much cooler in the suit, punching people and using tech.
Yeah, because Batman is at his core a detective. That's why he premiered in Detective Comics, and
Yeah, they're all
I
just
think
little
we
mysteries.
really don't see enough of that. So it's good to see it here. That's all I got.
All right then. Any more science from you, Ben?
Not really, no.
All right then. We're gonna go right to because of this movie. Any because of this movies today?
I got one. We talked about earlier the calculator and how all the fans were like, "Oh, it's a calculator, like an Easter egg or a cameo or something," because he says he's good with calculations and he's financing all these gangsters and bad guys. A kind of similar thing happened with the character Mr. Reese, the guy who tried to blackmail Batman, and then went to the news to be like, "I know who Batman is," and then Joker tried to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
People were like, "Is he the Riddler?" Because his name is a pun, Mr. Reese, Mysteries.
Ooh.
You know,
what a stretch.
it's a bit of a stretch. I mean, if it was intentional, it's kind of a fun Easter egg, but I think it's just a coincidence, an interesting coincidence.
Yeah.
Also, the Ed, like, what? Why would that make him the Riddler?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's.
There's a guy who's vaguely smart. He must be the Riddler. Way to go, everyone.
Yeah, I didn't buy into it because I'm not dumb. Shots fired.
and because I see Oscars and IMAX here.
Oh, sure. It's my turn, I guess. Okay, I've got a couple because of this movie. Leading up to the Oscar ceremony the coming year, there was a lot of talk that Dark Knight could get some heavy nominations, particularly in the categories of Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, all that fun stuff. It did get Best Supporting Actor, and Heath Ledger subsequently won. Subsequently and posthumously, yes. He did actually win, but the movie itself got more technical nominations for stuff like cinematography, visual effects, sound editing, which I think it also won for, and not so much in the larger categories. And supposedly there was such a fervor about the snubbing of this film that the year after, and every year since, the Academy now nominates 10 movies for Best Picture instead of 5. And that's largely attributed to this movie not getting nominated.
Yeah, I like that story, Skylar, but like I feel as if I really want some hard proof on that, honestly.
Like I said last time, the Academy is not going to come out and do a press release like, yes. But there has been an interview with, I believe, the Academy VP that did confirm, like, yes, we got a large backlash to it. And he was saying this directly in accordance with the question about, hey, is this the reason we wanted to 10 nominations? So it's as legit as you can make it.
What an interesting tale.
That's more of a stretch than the Riddler being in The Dark Knight.
Your mom's more of a stretch.
Ooh. Don't talk to my mother about like that. I think she might listen to these occasionally.
Because of this movie, SHMC will no longer be doing podcasts because we all hate each other.
Because of this movie, I'm going to insult your mom.
Because of this movie, I'll just dig up that article so we can stop talking about...
Post it on the Facebook.
So we can do this fucking Snopes thing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, I think that's a stretch. No.
Like, I want to believe you, Skylar, but it just seems it's such a weird thing, honestly. Um,
Weirder things have happened with the
oh,
Oscars.
I'm certain of that. I just
Yeah, like Forrest Gump winning Best Picture.
yeah, that's pretty weird. All right,
Yeah,
so any other because of this movies, or are we
yeah,
just
last one. Last one I had. We had mentioned earlier that IMAX played a part in this movie, and that there's a bunch of sequences that are actually displayed in IMAX. And this was actually the first legit mainstream movie to utilize IMAX cameras, use it in the film, make money off of it, and we've since had a lot. What are you doing?
don't worry about it.
Anyway, we've since had a lot more movies use it. It's a legit thing now. It's better than 3D for sure. And this was the movie that started it all.
A big IMAX push.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm getting really tired tonight. Damn, it's been a long, full day. My face is red with sunburn. Oh, is that what they call it nowadays? I don't even know. Burn sun.
Pre-cancer.
Fun burn.
Fun burn. I was out in the sun all day for the Renaissance Festival. It's crazy. It's a fun show. But so I think we're gonna wrap it in today. It's been a nice longer episode of SHMC. We are back weekly, just to let you know, listeners. So Superhero Movie Superhero Movie Club is recorded and produced by Triop Cop Productions. I said I was going to think of a more ridiculous name, and damn right I did. All right. If you like what you hear, please go to iTunes and subscribe so that you never miss an episode, of course. And then, and rate us. You know, you can, anything between 3 and 5 stars is acceptable.
Exclusively 5 stars is acceptable.
If you feel so much that like you hate us so much that you have to give us a 1 or a 2, or you know what, I count 3 as bad. So 1 or a 2 or a 3, then just
or a 4.
Just please just walk away. You know, you don't need to put us down. We're not harming your life. You can just walk away with this. Walk away from this. All right. But if you have a 5, we love you. We love you so much. Come join our group, talk with us, and such.
Yeah, and if you want to keep talking about any of these episodes with us, we encourage discussion on our subreddit, reddit.com/r/superhero movie club. We want to hear what you have to say about our episodes. You know, if we're just dead wrong about everything. If you have any fun facts on the movie that we missed, we'd love to hear it.
Oh yeah, give us some science articles.
Definitely. SHMC also keeps up an active Twitter feed at SuperheroMC, so follow us and send us your questions, comments, and suggestions, and we'll use them on the air.
Damn right we will. All right, so that's going to do it today. I'm your host, Michael Maurer.
James Schuyler Houtsma.
And Ben Anderson.
And I hope you all have a super week.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone. All right. If I stop broadcast, does it still keep us on?